Hi, Mark Werwey here in the Hall of Honor. I'm the Member of Parliament for Langley Aldergrove. And this morning I met with a delegation from Langley and Greater Vancouver. And it was one of those people in that delegation was Elyse Vroom from Langley. And Elyse, your story really touched the hearts of everybody in that room. And your story is about your sister,
Yes.
Rebecca. Could you share with Canadians your story?
Well, my sister Rebecca was 19 when she passed away in March 2016, and she was afraid to go into palliative care because she thought that they would hasten her death, and she wanted to live. She had cancer, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and so she died at home, actually in my mother's arms. But her suffering was one that was important to me, and she. I guess what I want to say is suffering is not a problem, and it's okay. It's okay to suffer, and she was okay to suffer. She didn't want anyone to end her life. She didn't want to take morphine or drugs, and she wanted to live. And so it's important to me that assisted suicide is not available in places like palliative care, where you're there to be cared for and taken care of and loved, and not given an option that you have no value and that your life should be ended.
So your sister, Rebecca, asked not to go to palliative care because she was afraid that they would end her life, hasten her death.
Hasten her death, that is correct.
And that is sad. Already in Canada, 70% of Canadians that need palliative care don't have access to it. And the province of British Columbia now has mandated that hospice has to include assisted suicide made. And your sister Rebecca is an example where people were afraid to go to palliative care.
That is correct. She, if she had gone to palliative care, she was suffering, and I don't want to negate her suffering because that was part of her story. But being allowed to be by her side and to show love during that suffering was the greatest gift that I have. And it allowed her family, and I think it allowed her to have closure in her death. And it was beautiful. And I assisted suicide takes that away from people. It takes away the opportunity to love and the opportunity to be with someone during a very natural part of life. Death is not something to be afraid of. We will all face death. And just because we are weak or sick doesn't mean that that's undignified. You can have dignity in suffering, and it's very important to recognize that and to validate that and say we can be there for you. Also, palliative care has options for helping you through pain management. Death does not need to look like, death is not something to be afraid of. Palliative care is there to help and assist, and people shouldn't be afraid to go there because they think that they're going to just be told that they have no value and that they should end their lives in that manner. It just doesn't seem right.
Elyse, thank you for sharing your story, and I will continue to work hard, and I'm sure you will too, to make sure palliative care, the definitions in Canada of palliative care, that we respect the international definition that it never hastens death, so people like your sister would not be afraid to go receive palliative care that she needed.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that.